Okay, students, this is just a video to explain the next assessment, which is understanding business performance and what influences it. Actually, this assessment is crucial for you because it helps you to improve your marks, especially if you didn't do good from the competition. So actually what you have to do is just to answer these questions, do the calculations on the ratios, and obviously answer these open-ended questions. How do you do that? To calculate the ratios, you have to use this PowerPoint that I will send to you. This PowerPoint has all the ratios required to be calculated, and they are interpreted here. In case if there's a question that asks you why is the ratio important, or what is the use of the ratio, um, you could use these interpretations here to answer that kind of questions. Okay, but the idea is for you to understand what different types of financial ratios can be used um, to make some decisions in a business. Okay, so the ratios are there. What you have to do, you just have to look at the formula of the ratio here. And obviously, where do you get the information to that you will use with these formulas? You get them from your reports. I've downloaded for you the reports, all that you need to do the ratios. Okay, you only need your profit and loss account here, and obviously your balance sheet. Okay, as you can see, these are all the profit and loss accounts from period 1 up to period 5. You must check here which period does this specific page or this specific information belongs to. For example, the first page is period 1. If you scroll down and go to the second page, you can see it belongs to period 2 information. You scroll, then you see period 3. Make sure the question is specific for you to calculate ratio for a specific period. Make sure you use the information from the right period. And as you can see, this is a summary of all the company's financial statements. You can see here, this is for company 1, 2, 3, up to company 5. Okay. The terms are exactly the same as the ones on the ratios, except maybe the this term here in the report, it says trade receivable, but in the ratios it says accounts receivable. If I check properly here, you see here it says account receivable, but it's the same term. Okay, so don't you get confused. And obviously, you have to pay attention now to the other questions, the open-ended questions. How do you approach them? So all the questions sounds the same, but there are different factors that influence that you can think of that influence the business performance or a specific ratio. For example, if the question asks you of micro factors refers to internal decision, things that you could influence that might have affected this that specific ratio. For example, here, identify one micro factor, which means identify one decision that you have made in period 2, in period 5, that influence the ratio. That to influence just means maybe why should, if the ratio is maybe 30%, what contributed to maybe that ratio being 30%, not maybe not less or not more. So you could, when you explain now, you can say the ratio could have been influenced by X factor. Maybe you say because it's gross profit margin, which is mostly affected by the price and what so on. For example, you can then uh, explain how maybe the price that you said, maybe it was too low, maybe it was too high, affected that specific ratio. And for you to see what affects, for example, this gross profit margin, you can go to the gross profit margin and see how the interpretation on how this ratio could be improved. Then that will give you some clue on how one of the decisions you made could have affected the ratio. Okay. Okay. That's how you approach the questions. But if the question asks you to identify one macro, this is micro, this is macro. Macro are those external factors that came in play during the planning. You can actually maybe try to go back to the business news for each period, so that you can see some of the external factors that were introduced in that news that might have affected the ratio. For example, if you look at, for example, ratios such as what one can I do? Things like, for example, net profit margin. You could go to the news and see how was the industry. Did maybe some cost increase? Did some costs go down? Which means if there were some costs that went down, it means then your profit margin was good, because the higher the cost of goods manufactured and the higher the prime cost, the less the profit margin. You have to look into that, in that line. That's how you have to deal with the questions, and it's the same question. Identify one micro, or maybe one macro. What does the high day sales outstanding ratio implies? You have to answer those kind of questions. So day sales outstanding is interpreted in the ratio. You can go there and read and what does it mean, and try to answer the questions. Okay, which means you read the questions. If you need to calculate, you come to the reports, you look for the information you need for that specific formula, you calculate, you get the answers. All I can say is, when you calculate, convert this into full numbers, like what you have been doing when you were filling in your balance sheet, which means you ignore the dot and add 0 at the end. Don't calculate in with as it is here on the report. Convert it to thousands, which means remove the dot, add 0 and at the end, each number. Okay. Otherwise, what else do I have to explain? I think that's it for now. So if you have a question, you can ask through your WhatsApp groups. You are still welcome, but just make sure, don't forget to use these ratios here. I will try to put them in PDF, and obviously just make it easier for you. And I will upload this obviously on the main WhatsApp group, and you must take it from there to share to your individual teams. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.